Sometimes losing you is the very thing that teaches them what they'll never find again. My friends, let that sink in for a second, because the moment you detach, the whole game changes. The silence they thought would make them stronger, it starts to crush them. The freedom they thought would feel exciting, it turns into a prison of doubt. Detachment flips the story they were writing in their head, and suddenly you're no longer the man they left, you're the man they can't replace. Now, before we go deeper, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment below so we can build this brotherhood together. Trust me, you'll want to stay with me until the end, because what we're about to break down will shift the way you see yourself and the way they see you forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a fire in the middle of winter. They walked away thinking they could find another flame, maybe even one that looked brighter for a while. But as nights grow colder, they realize not every flame gives heat. Some just flicker and die, leaving them shivering in the dark. Meanwhile, you didn't burn out. You grew into a roaring bonfire, lighting up the night sky, warming everyone in its glow, without needing them to return. That's what detachment does. It doesn't just make them miss you. It forces them to compare every cheap spark to the real fire they once had. Here's the lie they believed: that moving on with someone new would erase you, that replacing you would be simple, quick, painless. But my friends, here's the truth. You don't replace rare. You don't swap out energy that came with depth, patience, and presence. They can sit next to somebody else, laugh with them, hold their hand, but when the silence creeps in, when it's just them and their thoughts, they'll feel the difference. They'll feel the weight of what you carried, the stability you brought, the peace you gave. See, detachment is powerful because it creates mystery. They were used to you always being there, answering, reaching, showing up. But when you stop, when you choose silence over chasing, discipline over begging, self-respect over desperation, that's when the storm starts in their chest. Doubt creeps in. And doubt, oh my friends, doubt is the shadow that follows them everywhere. You want another metaphor? Detachment is like music. Imagine their life with you was their favorite song, on repeat, comforting, familiar. They thought they could just change the playlist and forget. But suddenly, the song is gone. Silence takes its place. And in that silence, every new track feels flat, empty, forgettable. Now, the very absence of the music becomes louder than the music itself. And here's the fun part. They'll try to act like they're fine. They'll smile in photos, laugh a little too hard, pretend their new situation is better. But inside, they're scrolling late at night, checking your page, wondering why you're not breaking, wondering why you're not watching them back, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they weren't as replaceable in your life as they thought you were in theirs. That's the magic of detachment. It's not about punishing them, it's about positioning yourself. It's about rising so strong that even their new lover can't compete with your silence. That's when regret starts to bloom. That's when comparison begins to bite. And that's when you finally understand. You don't have to say a word to win. So my friends, let's start this journey the right way. I want you to say this out loud with me right now. I detach, I rise. Type it in the comments below. Show me, show yourself, show the world that you're done giving your power away. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how detachment becomes your greatest weapon. Stay rare, stay rising, stay unshakable. Number 1, they thought you'd stay where they left you. Detachment is not abandoning them. It's abandoning the illusion they could live without you. My friends, let's get real. They didn't just walk away because they stopped caring. They walked away because they believed you'd stay exactly where they left you. Emotionally frozen, quietly waiting, forever available in the background like a safety net. That's the lie they told themselves to make leaving easier. And at first, maybe you lived in that lie too. You sat with your phone in your hand, scrolling through old memories, refreshing their page, wondering if they missed you while they smiled with someone else. You imagined the worst, that they were happier, lighter, freer without you. And those thoughts, they don't just sting, they crush your chest like invisible weights, making you feel like you lost the game before it even started. But here's the truth, folks. Those thoughts aren't facts, they're fears. And fear is the loudest liar in the room. Fear whispers, if you don't act now, they'll forget you forever. Fear screams, if you stay silent, they'll move on and never look back. And in that panic, people do what? They chase, they text, they beg, they explain. They throw their heart on the floor, hoping that vulnerability will spark recognition. But recognition never comes, because begging doesn't plant doubt. It feeds certainty. It confirms to them that leaving cost them nothing. Imagine this with me. You're a flame in the cold, burning steady and warm. They were the one who walked away from your fire, convinced they could find the same heat somewhere else. And maybe for a while they did. Maybe they found a spark, a distraction, a temporary glow. But when that new flame flickers out, and it always does, they remember what they left. They remember the heat that didn't just warm their skin but melted into their bones. But here's the twist. They only miss that fire when it no longer burns for them. That's why detachment is so powerful. You don't keep the flame alive for someone who abandoned it. You let it roar for yourself. Here's a lie that keeps so many stuck. They left because I wasn't good enough. No, my friends, that's not it. They didn't leave because you lacked value. They left because they assumed your value had peaked. They thought you were done growing, done evolving, done becoming more. They thought you were safe to walk away from because in their head you were fixed, unchanging, predictable, replaceable. And that's exactly where their regret begins. Because when you detach, when you stop waiting and start building, you prove them wrong in silence. You become unrecognizable. You become unforgettable. But let's not sugarcoat this. It's not easy. Detachment feels like weakness at first. It feels like disappearing means losing. It feels like if you stop showing up, they'll never look back. You'll lie awake at night, picturing them laughing with someone else, and your mind will torture you with images that may not even be true. You'll feel like you're losing a race you never even signed up for. And that's the hardest part, because detachment isn't a sprint. It's a marathon of self-mastery, and every mile hurts. Every mile feels endless. But with every mile, you get stronger. With every step away from them, you step closer to yourself. Let me paint another picture. Think of yourself as a lighthouse on a stormy night. They left your shore convinced another harbor would bring more safety, more light, more warmth. But as the waves crash and the winds twist around them, they start to realize something. Their new harbor doesn't have a lighthouse. It doesn't have guidance. It doesn't have stability. And then, from afar, they see you. Not dim, not broken, but brighter than ever. They thought you'd fade in their absence, but you evolved. And now they're lost in the storm, haunted by the glow they can't return to so easily. This is why detachment isn't about revenge. It's about resurrection. You don't pull back to punish them. You pull back to protect yourself. You don't go silent to manipulate. You go silent to heal. You don't detach to make them chase. You detach to rise so high that if they ever do look back, they can't even recognize the man you've become. And the beauty of it is this: in the silence, their mind does all the work for you. They start to wonder, why isn't he reaching out? Did he move on? Did he forget me? Does he even care? That doubt is the crack in their armor. And doubt, my friends, is the seed of regret. Now let's break another lie. If I just stay close, they'll see my worth again. Wrong. Staying close tells them you're an option, Detachment tells them you're the standard. Staying close lets them feel safe in replacing you. Detachment makes them realize replacements don't compare. So yes, detachment will hurt at first. It will feel like silence is swallowing you whole. It will feel like every second is proof you're forgotten. But that pain, that's the fire forging you. That's the silence sharpening your edges. That's the discipline building your backbone. And when the storm clears, you won't be the same man. You'll be the man they didn't believe you could become. So I want you to declare this with me right now. I detach and I rise. Say it out loud. Type it in the comments below. Show me, show yourself, show the world that you're done waiting in silence for someone who thought you'd never move. Show them that your absence is not weakness, it's evolution. And stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to show you why emotional absence is more powerful than physical presence, and why even their new lover can't compete with the echo your silence leaves behind. This is where the shift begins, my friends. This is where their confidence crumbles and your legend starts to rise. Stay rare, stay steady, stay becoming. Number 2, emotional absence is the real scarcity. People don't crave what they can touch every day. They crave what suddenly disappears, leaving a silence too heavy to ignore. My friends, let's be honest. They didn't believe in your absence. They believed in your attachment. They were confident that no matter where they went, you would still be orbiting their world, ready to answer, ready to show love, ready to validate their choice. That's the silent deal they made in their mind when they left. And at first, they were right, weren't they? Because you did what almost everyone does. You lingered. You posted with hidden meaning, you checked their page, you replayed memories in your head until the pain was unbearable. They counted on that. They counted on your presence to be a safety net for their ego. But what happens when you pull the plug? What happens when your emotional presence, the thing that kept feeding their confidence, suddenly vanishes? That, my friends, is when the scarcity begins. And scarcity, in human psychology, is the most powerful driver of desire. Imagine this with me. You've been breathing oxygen your entire life, never once thinking about it. It's just there, constant, invisible, free. But hold your breath for 1 full minute, and suddenly, oxygen becomes the only thing you want. Nothing else matters. Not money, not love, not status, just air. That's exactly what emotional absence does. You were once the oxygen of their emotional world, so consistent they didn't notice. But when you detach, when your emotional presence is no longer accessible, you instantly transform from ordinary to essential. And the hunger that grows in that silence is something no new lover can compete with. They may hold hands with someone else. They may laugh at new jokes, sit in new restaurants, pose for new photos. But all the while, there's a void gnawing at them. Because your emotional presence wasn't just about company, it was about grounding. And grounding, my friends, can't be duplicated. It's the difference between standing on solid earth and balancing on sand. Here's the lie you've been fed. If I stay visible, if I show I still care, they'll remember my worth. Wrong. Visibility without scarcity is noise. It's background static. They don't miss what's always available. They miss what suddenly vanishes and leaves a hole in their chest. And I know what you're thinking. But won't silence make me invisible? Won't they just forget me completely? That's the fear talking again. But let me ask you, can you forget someone whose energy once rewired your nervous system? Can you forget the man who steadied your chaos, who made laughter echo deeper, who gave presence without demanding payment? No, you can't. That memory becomes a ghost, and ghosts show up in the quiet, when the noise dies down, when the lights are off and the crowd goes home. That's when your absence becomes the loudest thing in the room. Let's put it in another metaphor. Think of yourself as the sun. Every morning, your light shone on them, warm, familiar, reliable. They never questioned it, never even stopped to thank it, because the sun was always there. But what happens when one morning the sun doesn't rise? Panic, confusion, cold. Now the absence of light is louder than the light ever was, and every new source of warmth, candles, lamps, even fire, only reminds them of the magnitude of what's missing. That's what detachment feels like. It's not absence, it's scarcity that transforms you into something priceless. But let's be real, it's not easy to go emotionally absent. You'll be tempted to check in, to break the silence, to throw them a little reminder of your existence. You'll want to post for them, hint at your growth, maybe even drop a breadcrumb of attention. But every time you do, you rob yourself of the leverage silence builds. Every time you break absence, you give them oxygen again. You relieve the pressure they should be feeling. And relief is the enemy of regret. You want them to feel it. Then you have to hold the silence. You have to be willing to withstand the fire of your own emotions long enough for theirs to ignite. You have to accept that at first your absence will hurt you more than it hurts them, because you're conditioned to believe presence equals love. But love isn't proven by how often you show up for someone who left. It's proven by how deeply you show up for yourself. Think about this. They left assuming you'd wait. But what if you don't? What if you detach so completely that when they look back, the man they knew no longer exists? What if their new lover starts to feel like a replacement instead of an upgrade? That's what emotional absence does. It doesn't scream, it doesn't announce, it doesn't beg. It simply removes access. And what you remove access to multiplies in value. Here's another truth bomb for you. People don't remember explanations. They remember experiences. You can talk, argue, reason, cry, explain until your throat runs dry. It won't matter. But vanish emotionally. Pull back your concern, your checking in, your constant giving. That experience carves into their memory. That absence becomes the echo they can't unhear. So yes, my friends, emotional absence is hard. It's discipline in its purest form. It's restraint when your whole heart wants to reach out. It's quiet when your mind screams for attention. But in that discipline, you reclaim your throne. You stop being a backup plan and start being a mystery. You stop being taken for granted and start being remembered. And here's the beauty. You don't do it to lure them back. You do it to lift yourself up, to free yourself from being a prisoner of someone else's approval, to prove once and for all that your energy is not a free subscription anyone can cancel and restart at will. It's a one-time gift, and once withdrawn, it redefines the entire game. So here's what I want you to declare with me right now. My absence has gravity. Say it out loud. Type it in the comments. Show me, show yourself. Show the world that you're done handing out your presence like it costs nothing. Let them feel the silence. Let them feel the void. And let them realize that no matter who they're with, nothing competes with what they lost when they lost you. Stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to show you how healing in silence makes you not just unforgettable, but unrecognizable. And when they see the new version of you, that's when regret transforms into obsession. Stay silent, stay rare, stay powerful. Number 3, heal so hard you're unrecognizable. The deepest revenge is not revenge at all. It's healing into someone they can never touch again. My friends, listen carefully. Detachment confuses them, yes, but healing, that's what haunts them. Silence plants doubt, but your transformation waters that doubt until it grows into regret that eats at them in the quiet hours of the night. If you want to know the one thing that even their new lover cannot compete with, it's not your looks, not your words, not your gestures, it's your healing. Because healing changes your very energy. Healing makes you unrecognizable, not just to them, but to yourself. Here's the thing. When they left, they believed the version of you they abandoned would always be waiting. The one who answered every message, the one who stayed up replaying conversations, trying to decode mixed signals, the one who tolerated being half-chosen. That's the version they think will always exist somewhere in the background, but healing proves them wrong. Healing kills that version and resurrects a new one, stronger, sharper, lighter. That's what terrifies them. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a man broken into pieces, scattered on the floor. At first, he tries to glue himself back together quickly, desperate to look whole again, hoping someone will notice. That's not healing. That's performance. That's taping the cracks and pretending the pieces don't exist. But real healing, it's different. Real healing means picking up every shard, one by one, and asking, why did this break? What part of me allowed it? Then, instead of taping them together, you melt them down in fire, recast them, and shape them into something stronger than the original. You're not the same vase with cracks. You're forged steel now. That's what healing does. And yet, most men get this part wrong. They heal for performance. They post their gym selfies hoping she sees. They write cryptic quotes hoping she reads them. They throw a glow-up in her direction, waiting for a reaction. That's not healing. That's still chasing, just in disguise. You're still seeking her attention through your progress. And here's the truth. She won't come back for what you pretend to be. They only feels the weight of your absence when your healing is so authentic, so deep, that you don't care whether she sees it or not. Think about this. What hurts them isn't your haircut, your muscles, or your new wardrobe. What hurts them is when they realize the old you, the one they had power over, doesn't exist anymore. That man is gone, dead, buried, and in his place stands someone they can't manipulate, someone they can't predict, someone who no longer bends to their moods or their attention. The man they once took for granted is now out of their reach, not because you blocked them, but because you outgrew them. That, my friends, is what no new lover can compete with. Here's the lie they believed. If I leave, he'll always be the same. If I walk away, I can always come back to the same man. Wrong. Healing breaks that illusion. Healing proves that the door they thought was always open has been replaced with a new house entirely. And when they knock, the man who answers isn't the one they remember. He's colder in some ways, sharper in others, calmer all around. He doesn't beg, he doesn't chase, and he doesn't crumble. He simply evaluates. And that evaluation shakes them to their core, because now, for the first time, it's not you auditioning for their love, it's them auditioning for your standards. But let's not sugarcoat this. Healing isn't glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy. It's ugly, brutal, silent. It's sitting in the dark with your pain, not running from it. It's staring your fears in the face and dissecting them until they lose power. It's choosing to feel the heartbreak fully instead of numbing it with distractions. It's learning to sleep again without checking your phone. It's teaching yourself that peace is not found in someone else's presence. It's built in your own routine, your own discipline, your own silence. And yes, there will be nights when you miss them. There will be mornings when the silence feels unbearable. There will be days when you wonder if healing is even working because the pain doesn't just vanish. But let me tell you something, the pain is not proof you're weak. The pain is proof you're in process. Healing is not about erasing pain, it's about using it as fuel. It's about letting that fire burn away the old patterns until the only thing left is the strongest version of yourself. Metaphor time. Healing is like building a castle. Every brick is a new boundary, every stone a new discipline, every wall a new habit. At first, it feels like nothing is changing, just a pile of bricks on the ground. But day after day, brick by brick, the walls start to rise, and one day they hear about you again. Not because you told them, not because you flaunted it, but because whispers of your growth reach them. They scroll past your picture, they hear your name in a conversation, and suddenly they pause. In that pause, regret grows, because the castle they once had access to is now fortified, glowing, alive, and they don't have the key anymore. And here's the kicker: healing isn't about them. Healing is about you. They're just the byproduct. You don't heal to prove them wrong. You heal to prove yourself right, to remind yourself you are always capable of being more, to reclaim the version of you that doesn't shrink for love, doesn't bend for approval, doesn't collapse under rejection. That's the man who's unstoppable. That's the man who walks into rooms and shifts the air. That's the man who no new lover can compete with, because you can't compete with peace. So yes, my friends, healing is hard. It will test you. It will break you before it builds you. But when you commit to it, not for performance, not for attention, but for freedom, you become unforgettable. And here's the truth: they don't fear losing you. They fear you healing past the point where they could ever reach you again. So let's make this declaration right now. Say it out loud with me. I heal for me. Write it in the comments below. Show me, show yourself, show the world that your healing is not a performance. It's a resurrection. You're not patching cracks. You're rebuilding the foundation. And when they see the man you've become, they won't just miss you. They'll regret ever doubting you. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about how building a life so bold, so focused, so magnetic makes you untouchable. Healing sets the stage, but building is where the empire rises. And when you build without looking back, you don't just outgrow them, you outclass them. Stay healing, stay rising, stay sovereign. Number 4, build a life that doesn't look back. The best revenge is not revenge. It's building a life so complete they wouldn't even know where to fit anymore. My friends, let's get straight to it. You can detach. You can go silent. You can heal so hard that you're unrecognizable. But if you keep looking back, if you keep wondering what they're doing, who they're with, or if they miss you, then you're still tied to a story that already ended. And the truth is, if you keep staring into the rearview mirror, you'll crash into the future that's trying to unfold in front of you. They thought you'd pause your life. They thought you'd sit in the waiting room of their memory until they were ready to come back. They thought your growth would stall, your purpose would freeze, your energy would stay orbiting their absence. But the moment you stop looking back and start building forward, everything shifts. Because building isn't just healing, it's creating a gravity so strong that people revolve around you without you even asking. Imagine this: you're standing at a construction site. At first it's empty land, just dirt and rubble. They walk past, laughing, thinking, there's nothing here. Nothing will come of this. They leave, certain that the ground you stand on will stay bare forever. But you don't stop. Brick by brick, day by day, you start building. A foundation here, a wall there, a tower rising where there was once nothing. And while they're busy playing house in a borrowed space, you're building a kingdom they'll one day see from a distance. Fortified, alive, untouchable. That's the power of building forward. Here's the lie they believed: if I leave, he'll stay stuck in that moment. He'll pause his life waiting for me. But that's not your truth anymore. You don't wait. You elevate. You don't orbit their decision. You create momentum so powerful that even they can't ignore it. And the wild part: the more you build, the less you even care if they notice. That's the irony. True power is when you're building so focused, so disciplined, that their opinion becomes irrelevant. But let's be honest, it's not easy at first, because building forward means letting go of the fantasy. It means releasing the hope that they'll see your worth and come running back. It means accepting that closure isn't something they hand you. It's something you build with your own hands. And that hurts. That feels like death to the old version of you. But death is required for resurrection. You can't become the man you're meant to be while still waiting for the past to validate you. Let me hit you with another metaphor. Think of your life as a stage. When they left, the curtain dropped and you thought the play was over. But what you didn't realize is that it was only the end of one act. The show isn't done, it's just entering a new scene. The audience is waiting, the lights are ready, the music is building. But here's the catch. You're the one who has to step back on stage. And when you do, you don't perform for the ghosts of the past. You perform for the man you're becoming. That's what building forward means. So how do you build? You start small. You build routines so solid that even your darkest days can't break them. You wake up earlier, you train harder, you invest smarter. You surround yourself with people who sharpen you instead of drain you. You set boundaries so clear that no one ever wonders what version of you they're getting. You pour into your mission, your craft, your discipline, until your life becomes a masterpiece. And here's the fun part. While you're doing this, while you're out here building quietly, intentionally, they'll hear about you. Not through you, not through a post or a flex, but through whispers. A friend mentions your name. A picture slides across their feed. A mutual says, "You wouldn't believe what he's been up to." And in that moment, their chest tightens, because the man they left behind has been replaced by someone they don't even recognize anymore. Here's the thing. Building isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about proving to yourself that your value was never tied to their presence, that you were always capable of greatness, but heartbreak was the catalyst that forced you to unlock it. And when you build from that place, you don't just outgrow them, you outclass them. Think about this. They're out there pretending to be happy, smiling wider in photos, posting captions about moving on. But deep down, they're watching, they're wondering, they're comparing. And the more you build, the more obvious the contrast becomes. Because their new situation, it feels temporary, shallow, replaceable. But your new life, it feels permanent, grounded, undeniable. And no amount of pretending can compete with reality. But here's the most powerful part. The more you build, the less you even want them back. Because as your life expands, as your kingdom grows, you realize something. You were never really missing them. You were missing yourself. You were missing the man you abandoned while you were busy chasing validation. And once you find him again, once you rebuild him stronger, calmer, more focused than ever, you realize you don't want to go back. You don't want to fit someone else into your story. You want to keep writing new chapters without repeating old mistakes. And that, my friends, is the ultimate shift. When they finally circle back, hoping to see if the door is still cracked open, they'll find you in a new house entirely. They'll knock, but the man who answers won't be the one who used to beg. He'll be the man who evaluates, the man who chooses, the man who doesn't look back because he's too busy building forward. So let me break another lie. If I don't look back, I'll lose them forever. My friend, if you can lose them by not looking back, you never truly had them. Real love doesn't require you to pause your life. Real love meets you at your level and builds with you. And if they couldn't do that, then their chapter was never meant to last. So here's what I want you to say with me right now. I build for me. Say it out loud. Type it in the comments below. Show me, show yourself, show the world that your building isn't about revenge, isn't about performance, isn't about validation. It's about alignment. It's about becoming the man who no longer needs to look back because the view ahead is too powerful to ignore. Stay with me because in the next part, we're going to talk about silence, not as absence, but as power. The kind of silence that doesn't just confuse them, but echoes in their soul until they can't ignore it anymore. Silence is not weakness. It's the roar they never expected. And I'm going to show you how to master it. Stay building, stay rising, stay sovereign. Number 5. Silence is not weakness, it's power that echoes. Sometimes the loudest roar is the silence that refuses to beg. My friends, let's talk about silence. Not the silence of defeat, not the silence of giving up, not the silence that feels empty and weak. I'm talking about intentional silence, strategic silence, the kind that rattles them more than 1,000 words ever could. Because here's a truth they never expected. You don't win people back by explaining. You don't win by proving. You win by vanishing in a world addicted to attention. See, when they left, they expected noise. They expected a meltdown. They expected the desperate texts, the let's talk calls, the endless paragraphs trying to unpack what went wrong. That's what most people give them. And let's be honest, at first you almost did too. Your fingers hovered over the keyboard. You typed out messages and deleted them. You replayed conversations in your head, thinking, if I just explain it the right way, they'll understand. But explanations don't spark regret. Explanations give relief. Silence, though, silence creates questions. Imagine this. You were their favorite song on repeat. Comforting, familiar, always there. But suddenly the music cuts off. No fade out, no explanation, no warning, just silence. At first, they shrug it off. It's fine. I'll find another song. But then, in the quiet, they start to notice the absence. The melody that used to fill the room is gone, and every new song they play feels flat, forgettable. And in that silence, their mind turns against them. That's what intentional silence does. It forces them to sit with their own doubts, their own choices, their own regret. Here's the lie most people believe. If I stay silent, they'll think I don't care. They'll move on and forget me wrong. Silence isn't forgettable, it's unforgettable. Why? Because everyone else begged, everyone else chased, everyone else filled the air with noise. You vanished. You became the question mark in their mind, and people don't chase answers that are handed to them. They chase questions they can't solve. But let's be real, holding silence is brutal. At first, it feels like weakness. It feels like you're losing. You'll lie awake wondering if they're laughing with someone else, if they're scrolling past your picture without a second thought. You'll think, if I don't say something, I'll disappear completely. That's fear talking. That's ego begging for validation. But silence isn't weakness. It's restraint. It's discipline. It's the decision to withhold energy instead of wasting it. Think of silence like a wall. They thought they left the door open, that they could return whenever they wanted. But when they circle back instead of an open door, they hit a wall of silence. And that wall shakes them. Because silence isn't passive, it's active. It says, without words, I've moved, I've risen, I'm no longer orbiting your choices, and that realization cuts deeper than any speech you could ever give. Here's another metaphor for you. Imagine you're the sun. You've been shining on them every day, warm, familiar, expected. They never said thank you because they assumed the light would always be there. But then one morning, the sun doesn't rise for them. The warmth is gone, the light is gone, and now, standing in the cold, they realize something they never admitted before. They were never the source of the glow. You were. And now your silence has made that truth undeniable. But here's where most men fail. They break silence too soon. They panic. They think, it's been too long. I should check in. I should remind them I'm here. And the moment you break silence, you give them oxygen. You ease the very discomfort that was supposed to break them. Remember this, every time you break silence, you relieve their doubt. And relief is the opposite of regret. Silence works because it creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value, and value creates longing. But only if you hold it long enough. Only if you resist the urge to explain, to prove, to beg. Here's the lie they believed: he'll always care. He'll always be available, even if I move on. Silence smashes that lie. Silence says, not anymore. Access denied. And that message doesn't need words. It's louder than any apology, any paragraph, any explanation. Now let me ask you this. What's louder, a scream in a crowded room or silence in a moment when everyone expects noise? Silence. Because silence makes people lean in. Silence makes them wonder. Silence makes them replay every moment, every word, every mistake. And in those replays, regret grows. But silence isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your energy. It's about refusing to pour into a cup that already chose to spill. It's about saying, my attention is a currency and I'm done handing it out for free. Silence is how you remind yourself that you don't need to perform to be valuable. You just need to exist in your own power. Let's get practical. Silence doesn't mean ignoring your life. It means pouring your energy inward instead of outward. It means showing up for your routines instead of showing up in their DMs. It means channeling your words into your mission, your discipline, your growth, not into someone who didn't fight to keep you. And the beauty of this? While they're out there wondering why you haven't said a word, you're quietly building a life that makes their silence feel meaningless. And that, my friends, is how silence echoes. It echoes in the night when they check their phone expecting a message that never comes. It echoes in conversations when your name pops up and they realize you haven't been watching. It echoes in their heart when their new lover doesn't feel the way you did. And here's the punchline. They'll never admit it. Pride won't let them. But curiosity will. And curiosity is what drives them back to the door you've already walked away from. So yes, silence is hard. Yes, silence hurts. Yes, silence feels empty at first. But the longer you hold it, the louder it becomes. The quieter you get, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because silence isn't absence, it's presence in its highest form. It says, without saying, I don't need to explain myself. My growth speaks louder than my words, so let's declare it right now. Say it out loud. My silence is power. Type it in the comments. Show me, show yourself, show the world around you that you no longer fear being quiet, that you no longer need to beg to be heard, that your silence will echo louder than their excuses, louder than their new lover, louder than their pride. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're stepping into the mirror, the place where they can't escape comparison. When your silence is paired with your transformation, their new lover stops looking like an upgrade and starts feeling like a downgrade. And trust me, that mirror hits harder than anything you could ever say. Stay silent, stay calm, stay sovereign. Number 6, the mirror effect. Let them compare. Nothing haunts the human mind more than comparison. The moment they realize what they chose doesn't measure up to what they lost. My friends, let's talk about the mirror, the invisible reflection they can't escape. See, when they left you, they weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of staying and watching you stay the same. They thought they were upgrading, moving forward, trading the familiar for something fresh. And maybe in the beginning, that new person did feel like an upgrade. The spark was shiny, the laughs were easy, the excitement was intoxicating, but sparks don't last. Excitement fades, and when it does, they're left with something terrifying: comparison. Because here's the truth. People don't feel the loss when you beg. They don't feel it when you chase. They don't feel it when you post and hope to be noticed. They only feel it when they're forced to compare. When they look at their upgrade and realize that no matter how hard they try, it doesn't feel like you. Imagine this. They're lying next to someone new. The conversation flows, the laughter comes, but then there's a pause, a silence in the air that doesn't feel the same. A moment where their mind drifts back to you. Maybe it's a phrase the new person says. Maybe it's the way they sip their drink. Maybe it's the silence before sleep. and suddenly your face flashes in their mind, not because you're chasing them, not because you reminded them, but because the comparison started on its own. That's the mirror effect. And the wild part? The more you change, the more powerful the mirror becomes. If you're still the same man they left, then the mirror simply reflects why they walked away. But if you're leveling up in silence, training harder, building stronger routines, sharpening your energy, then when they look back, the mirror blinds them. Because now, the old version of you no longer exists, and nothing causes more regret than realizing you abandoned someone who became everything you secretly wanted. Here's the lie they believed: he'll always be that man I left behind. If I want to, I can return to the same version of him. Wrong. The man you're becoming doesn't live in the past. The man you're becoming has already outgrown the box they tried to put you in, and when the mirror reflects that truth back at them, it cuts deeper than any silence alone ever could. Let me give you another metaphor. Think of yourself as a grand piano. When you were with them, you filled the room with resonance. They got used to it, assumed they could find the same sound anywhere, so they left, trading you for a cheap keyboard. At first, the keyboard sounded fun, lightweight, portable, exciting, but over time they realize something. No matter how many songs they play, the sound is shallow. It doesn't shake the walls, it doesn't stir the soul. And every time they touch those keys, the memory of your resonance echoes in the back of their mind. That's the mirror effect. And the best part? You don't even have to try. The mirror does the work for you. You don't have to post. You don't have to show off. You don't have to prove. You just keep evolving. You just keep building. You just keep becoming the man they never believed you could be. And the more you grow, the harder it becomes for them not to compare. But let's not sugarcoat it. Comparison doesn't show up right away. At first, they'll double down on their choice. They'll tell themselves they're happier. They'll post pictures with fake smiles, captions screaming, "I've moved on." They'll convince themselves they upgraded. But deep down, pride is fragile. Pride screams loudly, but curiosity whispers louder. And eventually, curiosity wins. Eventually, they look back. And when they do, your silence, your growth, your evolution, all of it becomes the mirror that forces them to face the truth. Here's the thing though, the mirror effect only works if you've changed. If you're still the same man they left, then the reflection is easy to ignore. But when your energy is calmer, your discipline sharper, your life more focused, then when they see you again, whether in person, through a photo, or even through a whisper from a mutual friend, they freeze. They pause. And in that pause, regret blooms. Think about this. They're sitting with their new lover, scrolling late at night, and suddenly your name pops up. They see a picture of you looking sharper, calmer, more powerful than ever. Their chest tightens, because the man they thought they could come back to isn't there anymore. The man they took for granted is gone, and the man staring back at them from the mirror, he doesn't look like someone who would take them back. He looks rare, untouchable, elevated. That's why I keep telling you, this isn't about revenge. It's not about making them jealous. It's about becoming so undeniable that even their pride can't erase the comparison. You're not out here trying to compete with their new lover. You're becoming the standard their new lover will always fail to meet. And that, my friends, is something no apology, no explanation, no begging could ever achieve. Here's another truth. The mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't exaggerate. It simply reflects what is. And when what is becomes too powerful to ignore, regret takes root. They might not admit it out loud. They might never tell anyone. But inside, they're fighting a war between their pride and their memory. And in that war, your evolution wins every time. But don't miss this. Your goal is not to make them compare. Your goal is to outgrow the need for comparison at all. Because once you stop caring whether they see your growth, once you build so purely for yourself, that's when your power becomes permanent. That's when you stop being an option and start being a legend in their mind. So let me break one final lie. If I outgrow them, I'll lose them forever. My friend, if outgrowing them makes you lose them, then they were never meant for the man you're becoming. Better to lose someone who fit the old you than to shrink yourself to keep them. Better to stand tall in your growth than to bend small for their comfort. Because the mirror doesn't just reflect you to them, it reflects them to themselves. And that's the hardest truth of all. So here's what I want you to declare right now. Say it out loud. I outgrow the old me. Write it in the comments. Show me, show yourself, show the world that you're no longer chasing comparison. You're causing it. You're no longer begging to be seen. You're becoming the standard. And the man who becomes the standard doesn't look back. He keeps moving forward, knowing the mirror will always do the work for him. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to flip the final card. The moment they come back, uncertain, nervous, hoping the door is still open. But this time, the choice won't be theirs. It will be yours. And that's when you'll see that the real power isn't in making them return. It's in deciding if they're even worthy of standing in your presence again. Stay rising, stay rare, stay undeniable. Number 7, when they come back, you decide. The ultimate power is not in making them return. It's in knowing you no longer need them when they do. My friends, here's the truth that no one tells you. When you detach, when you heal, when you rebuild, when you rise into the man you were always meant to be, they almost always come back. Maybe not with the apology you pictured. Maybe not in the dramatic movie scene you played out in your head. But they come back. They circle. They test the waters. They throw a message into the silence, waiting to see if you'll answer. And when they do, the entire game flips. Not because you got them back, but because you finally realize you never needed them in the first place. They left thinking they'd always find you waiting. They return expecting to see the same man they abandoned, the one who doubted his worth, who tolerated their indecision, who begged to be chosen. But when they come back, they don't find him. That man is gone, dead, buried. In his place stands someone new, calmer, sharper, sovereign. And that stillness, that unshakable calm, it rattles them more than any anger ever could. Because now, for the first time, you're not reacting, you're not chasing, you're not auditioning, you're evaluating. Imagine this. They come knocking, certain that the door is still cracked open. But instead of finding the same hallway they left, they discover an entirely new house. The paint is fresh, the walls are stronger, the locks are different. And the man standing in the doorway isn't the man who begged them to stay. He's the man who decides who enters now. That's the power of detachment, healing, and silence combined. You don't just survive without them. You rebuild so powerfully that you choose whether they even qualify to return. Here's the lie most of you still carry. If they come back, it means I won. No, my friend. Their return is not the win. The win is the man you became while they were gone. The win is knowing that you don't have to say yes. The win is realizing you no longer need them for closure, for peace, for validation. Closure was never theirs to give. It was yours to create. And you created it by rising. And let's be honest, it won't be easy when they return. Old feelings will stir. Old memories will whisper. Your heart will want to replay the highlight reel of the good times, forgetting the very reasons they left. You'll feel the temptation to open the door wide, to prove to yourself that you finally got them back. But pause, breathe, remember. This is the test. The test of whether you've truly evolved or whether you've only performed evolution waiting for their return. If you've healed, if you've rebuilt, if you've detached fully, then when they come back, you won't feel desperation. You'll feel clarity. You'll see patterns, not promises. You'll hear actions, not words. You'll measure them against the man you've become, not the boy you used to be. And in that evaluation, you'll realize something powerful. They don't decide anymore. You do. Let me give you another metaphor. Think of yourself as a kingdom. Once upon a time, they sat beside you on the throne, or at least you thought they did. When they walked away, you thought your kingdom would collapse. But instead, you rebuilt. Stronger walls, higher towers, deeper foundations. And now, when they return, hoping to reclaim their seat, you don't beg them to stay. You don't rush to hand them the crown. You hold the crown in your own hands and decide whether they're worthy of sitting in your presence again. That's sovereignty. That's real power. And here's the twist. You may not even want them back. In fact, most of the time, by the time they return, you've grown so far beyond them that they no longer fit into the life you've built. The very life they didn't believe you could create is now the reason they can't reach you anymore. And that realization, when they see that you're no longer theirs to claim, that's what breaks them. But don't misunderstand me. This isn't about punishing them. This isn't about revenge. This is about resurrection. You didn't grow to prove them wrong. You grew to prove yourself right. You didn't detach to lure them back. You detached to find yourself again. Their return isn't the prize. You are. Their regret isn't the goal. Your freedom is. So yes, they may beg, they may compare, they may test, they may regret. But the final decision, that belongs to you. And maybe you'll let them in, maybe you'll listen, maybe you'll decide they've grown too, and that a new chapter is possible. Or maybe you'll smile, thank them for the lesson, and keep walking forward. Either way, you win. Because you're no longer playing the old game. You've rewritten the rules. And that, my friends, is the deepest shift of all. Detachment gave you peace. Healing gave you strength. Building gave you purpose. Silence gave you power. And now, choice gives you freedom. The freedom to decide who stays and who goes. The freedom to no longer beg for love, but to choose it only when it aligns with your worth. The freedom to finally understand you never lost them, you only ever found yourself. So let's end this with one final declaration. Say it out loud with me right now. I decide who stays. Write it in the comments. Show me, show yourself, show the world that this is your era, your rise, your rebuild. That you're no longer a man waiting for approval. You're a man choosing from abundance. And if this message hit your soul, if you felt the fire, then do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because this isn't just about relationships. This is about reclaiming power in every area of your life. And trust me, what's coming next will take you even deeper into becoming untouchable. Stay rare, stay sovereign, stay legendary.